Howdy guys and gals, I'm Kyle Broderick. Here at the Social Regressive, we have been testing this HDMR2 scope for about a year now. It's been amazing. We have tested this on 3 different 6.5 Creedmoor rifles. I can't entirely remember, we might have put it on some other stuff in the past too, but we tested it out on the Savage Stealth Evolution. Before that we had the Model 10 GRS. And right now it's sitting on top of the CMMG Mark III DTR2. All the rifles were wonderful, and one of the things that made them work in the various challenges that we did, and we're talking about things like shooting moving targets, running all kinds of speed drills, you know, bouncing from one target to the next. Back in the Evolution and the GRS days when we were testing those rifles, we used this scope to be able to range small targets out to, you know, as far as 425 yards to figure out how far they were and then to hit them. We've had a whole lot of fun with this. This has been Bushnell's flagship for a little while now, and I don't say that lightly. In my mind, this is the tippy top. This has a massive zoom ratio, 3.5 to 21 power. That gets you all the way down into really close quarters sorts of situations, you know, whether that's hunting or defense or whatever, up to 21 power. It has that Horus H59 reticle, which makes it so you can make really precise measurements and adjustments out at all kinds of ranges. We tested this at a mile with this rifle right here. And yeah, really, the scope is wonderful. The mount that we have it sitting in right now is the Warren 20 MOA mount. I do highly recommend this. It works very, very well. It seems to be very solid, and of course you get that extra drop so that you can get out to those longer distances. But yeah, this has proven itself to be very reliable, and you know, jumping from rifle to rifle, it has gotten the job done. And of course the extra low dispersion glass in there and all the little tricks and gizmos, they have just worked out perfectly. Whatever situation we put this into, whether it was kind of closer range, speed shooting, or you know, even hunting, this is what I shot that hog at 400 yards with, and it was sprinting at the time. It's the reticle, it's the glass that really made this made that shot happen, and all the shots previous to it. But Bushnell has moved on to a new flagship, and what that does is it takes this formula right here. It basically takes this scope and then just adds more to it. And we're going to take a look at that because the project is also going to transfer its flag over to this. This is within the same line, the Bushnell Elite Tactical, and this is the XRS2. And we're going to dig here into the box to see what is in here. I want to show you guys what we're going to be using in the project for the next little while now, because I expect this to perform extremely well. It's going to expand some of our capabilities. It's going to add a few little tricks. It's not like it's, you know, replacing this scope. This is just a wonderful thing. And this, of course, is still in the catalog. This is going to cost a good bit less than the XRS2 right here. But yeah, we're going to see what we can do with this, see if we can stretch things out a little bit. And we're going to put this through its paces, but for now we're just going to see what's in the box and take a look at some of the tricks and gizmos that are in this scope. Let's see what's in the box, which just happens to be a pretty nice box, by the way. It's actually held closed by magnets. Kind of cool. Alright, looks like we have some instructions. Okay, so these are some of the new features. This is talking about the rev limiter zero stop. This is going to be the same as what's on the HDMR2. All you have to do is just remove the turret cap on the elevation turret. There's a disc. So once you have this zeroed for 100 yards, depending on which reticle you're using, but I think in general they all recommend 100 yards. Yeah, you just take this disc, loosen it up, drop it down to its lowest point, zip these 2 studs over, tighten it back up, put the turret cap back on, and then that'll make it so that you can't go past your 100-yard mark. You can always find that spot again and then get to your longer ranges from there. And it looks like it's talking about the diopter locking ring now, and we're going to take a look at that here in a sec. That's a really nice addition. Let's see what they've included. Okay, so here we have the scope, and it looks like there is a sunshade in here, which is a really nice addition. I think more folks should just go ahead and throw these in, tack on a little bit of extra price, because it's still going to be cheaper than having to pay shipping to get your sunshade aftermarket. Great addition right there. Looks like we have tools. Yeah, looks like these are the Allen wrenches for getting in and adjusting, like some of those locking rings. It's a card reminding us to register, and here's the scope. All right, so it looks like this includes the usual kind of bikini covers right here, just like on the HDMR2. Let's see what else. There's something under here. Ah, okay, this looks like one of those silicone impregnated covers. This is going to be really handy in the field. I like this a lot. Very cool. All right, let's take a close look at the scope itself. And I want to compare it back to back with the HDMR2. So let's go ahead and tilt up real quick. All right, so there's the HDMR2 in the background. And you can see that they look extremely similar. They definitely are using a lot of the same processes and many of the same parts. Looks like this is longer, which you would expect from a higher magnification optic. This is just a little bit longer. It looks shorter right now because this one is wearing its sunshade. HDMR2 has a 3-inch sunshade on it. But yeah, as far as the actual scope goes, this is a little bit longer. Let's take a look at some of the bits, and let's start at the ocular end right here. So there's the ocular lens and that locking ring. So any of you guys that have had basically a hunting rifle from the past 20 years, or at least, they've had locking rings for the diopter adjustment. All you have to do is set the diopter and then screw in the ring to make sure that it sticks. And I'm really glad that they added that to this. The fast focus eyepieces have been kind of annoying on some of the new scopes. They have a tendency to spin, when you put them in your bag or whatever. At least they can. I think that it's probably not all that important on either this or the HDMR2, just because this is not all that easy to turn. But I think it's just a nice little bit of added security anyway. Good to have that locking ring. And then speaking of things that are a little bit torquey, on the HDMR2, this really required this throw lever so that you could very easily spin between your magnifications. And this goes between 3.5 to 21. And one of the big things about the XRS2 that makes it different from the HDMR2 or the DMR2 or DMR2 Pro is that this goes from 4.5 all the way around to 30. So this is going to be an even better varmint scope if you want to do that sort of work. You can just get a lot closer in on the subject. And this also includes that throw lever, so I'm expecting that this is going to also be about as difficult to turn. Yeah, this is a pretty difficult zoom ring to turn. It feels really high quality. There's no sticking points, nothing feels like it's grinding or anything. It feels very smooth, but yes, it does take a good bit of effort to turn this into its different positions. All right, so yeah, looking good there. And moving forward, let's take a look at the turrets, which I can kind of see and feel have a little bit of a different texture to them. It's basically the same, but it looks like they machined a little bit of extra knurling in here so you can get better traction. That's nice. And on the elevation turret, it looks like they've added some 0.5 numbers to indicate those halfway points between milliradians. Both of these scopes are milliradian all the way around. Both of them are first focal plane. And yeah, so you get 10 milliradians all the way around on each of these. 10 milliradians all the way around on windage as well. So this one has the zero stop. It does not have a locking turret. By contrast, the windage does have a locking turret. So if you get to a good spot, you can just lock that in. It's not going to turn anymore. Pull it out, and then you can zip up to the next spot and lock that down. Oh, and this actually feels better than the HDMR2. That's pretty cool. This one seems to lock into place a little bit easier. This one can be a little bit notchy, so yeah, I'm really digging that. As you can see, this has markings for right and left, so it has R1, all the way around to R5, I believe, and then L all the way around. Actually, it just has the 5 position, doesn't have R or L because that's where things meet up. But yeah, really nice to have that, so you don't have to take your face really off the scope in order to see which way you have to spin it to change your point of impact. Here is the side focus adjustment or side parallax adjustment, and this right here, it looks like the closest you can get is 75 yards, and that's going to be typical for some of these gigantic scopes like this. It's going to focus out to infinity, of course, and this feels a little bit easier to spin than some of the other turrets, and that's going to be really nice. It does feel high quality. It feels very smooth. Back here, we have the objective lens. This is a 50 millimeter, and they're really touting that this is a really good dusk scope, and I'm going to hopefully get to test that out in some hunting situations. I love a scope that you can use in the daylight and continue to use well into the dusk region, so you don't have to swap out to night vision or anything like that, and you can get those last shots on deer. Pointing out some of the differences between the two scopes, of course you have the different magnification range, and you have a little bit of those upgrades on the turrets, but the big deal here is, for me, that this adds a new reticle. This has, the HDMR2 has that Horus H59, which has been my favorite reticle of all time. I just love it. It's in the first focal plane. It's milliradian all the way around. It's one of those huge Christmas tree reticles. It has lots and lots of dots and lines, and this worked out just stunningly when I took a shot at that running hog at 400 yards. It's the scope that really made that possible, and I was able to get 2 out of the 3 shots at that distance. So that's a really good tribute to the reticle in there. This is the brand new Horus Tremor 3 reticle, and this one is a little bit different. It takes that Horus H59 and then it adds some extra dots for wind estimates. So you have to make sure that this is actually zeroed for 100 yards, and then anytime you want to take a shot, you use the appropriate drop on there. You wouldn't use the turret if you're going to do this, but yeah, it'll actually give you your windage estimate based on certain values. So a 4-mile-an-hour wind will have a specific dot on that particular drop line, and then if you can just kind of get an estimate of what the wind is doing, supposedly you can use that dot and you can make a hit without having to say remember how much your windage is on your chart or have to reference your chart. We're going to test that out. So I think one of the challenges that we're going to do with this scope is we are going to get out and on a windy day, we're going to purposefully look for the windiest day that we can find and see if we can connect with some targets at various distances and see if those dots actually work. I'm really curious to see if they do. Windage is a pretty tricky thing. Some people think that it's just down to wind speed and the speed of your bullet and how much drop you have. It's a little bit more complicated than that. It actually does include the mass of your bullet, but I think that overall the estimate, you know, if they've done their math on this, which I expect they have, then it should work anyway for most bullets. We're probably going to be shooting a lot of 6.5 Creedmoor under this, and I think that's going to be kind of a good middleweight bullet to test out, 140 grains. Excuse me while I whip this out. These are my notes, some of the differences between the XRS2 and the HDMR2, in addition to the zoom differences and then the reticle differences that we have there. And by the way, the XRS2 comes with a few different options of reticles. You can get the H59 if you prefer that, if you want to get rid of some of those extra dots, you don't want to deal with those wind estimates. You can get the Horus H59 in there. There's the G3 reticle, which is kind of a Bushnell specific Christmas tree mill hash sort of reticle. It's also a really nice one. And on both of these, if you get the DMR2 or the XRS2 with that G3, you can actually get an illuminated model if you want to take up the price a little bit and get some illumination on there. So both of these have a 34mm tube. We're not dealing with 30mm anymore. We are moving a lot of light and we're getting a little bit of extra We're getting a great big exit pupil, and we're getting some extra travel in here. And there is a slight difference in travel between the two of these. On both of the turrets, the HDMR2 can do, I believe it is 34 milliradians on the HDMR2. Then the XRS2 backs things off a little bit to 33 milliradians. So you lose 1 milliradian of adjustment. One of the other differences includes the coatings that are on the lenses. Now, I think that the current HDMR2 that's being sold and the other DMR2 and DMR2 Pro scopes include the XO barrier, which is a kind of final solution added to the lenses, the exterior lenses. It's going to keep anything from sticking. It won't have, like, basically you can't stick anything to the lens, and it's very difficult to scratch. It's a kind of proprietary coating that sounds like it is the business. And I tested this out on the Bushnell Engage, and yeah, nothing seemed to stick. Fingerprints, you guys that have had some of the older scopes, you know that even a fingerprint pressed onto the objective, if you leave it there long enough, it's going to kind of etch in there, and it's going to mess up your scope for good. But yeah, basically nothing can hurt it. This one I don't believe had the XO barrier back when this first came out. The new models do, and of course the XRS2 has that XO barrier. But aside from that, I think the glass should be very comparable. It's the extra low dispersion glass on both. Image should be very good. I expect that this is going to just perform extremely well out at any distance, any magnification, and we're going to see what the actual optical qualities are like. This video has just provided a brief overview of the product itself, but make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get instant notifications when new videos come out, because we are really going to be testing this in the future. You know that I don't just review a product, I review it right into the ground. We're going to test all kinds of things. We're going to use this at distance, we're going to use this in different kinds of drills, and then hopefully we'll be using this on a hog hunt coming up here soon. This is going to be particularly suited for that. This is going to work really well. Make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when new videos come out. We have all kinds of exciting things coming up here in the future, including that Savage 12 FV project rifle build coming out. Make sure that your friends get in on this, because it's going to be very interesting coming up here in the future. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Even if you didn't like this particular content, go ahead and subscribe. There's probably something coming that's more up your alley. Check out this playlist right here. This is going to have videos in a similar vein to what you just watched. These two videos we cherry-picked for you. And finally, The Social Regressive is on Patreon. So you can become a patron of the Destructive Arts and earn some goodies while helping us to provide high-quality videos just by kicking us a few bucks a month. Thanks so much for your patronage.